What's going on, YouTube? Let's talk about this workplace environment and talk about why Gen Z employers are being fired early. Now, if you don't know what a Gen Z is, they're born between 1997 and 2012.
We've got a building full of Gen Z and millennials, and we actually love them. But what we have laughingly said, and it is actually very true, is there's only two types: excellent and sucks.
And one out of six Gen Z is fired. Well, they surveyed 1,000 managers and they found out one out of six employers hesitate to hire Gen Z. And here's why.
Do you know what percent of Gen Z workers claim they experience burnout at work?
I get scheduled for 25 hours a week and literally about
Not 20%, not 40%, not 80%, not 90%. 98% of you experience burnout.
Every single day, go and work somewhere and do that 5 times a week?
How? You're in your early 20s. Watch this. 23% face unmanageable stress and 48% feel drained, according to a Cigna survey.
All right, that's
The Intelligent Survey results. So in September, they published a survey from intelligent.com. Here's the article about revealing that 60% of employers have already let go Gen Z hires within a month of onboarding. And the reason behind this termination highlight a complex dynamics between workplace expectancy and shift of generational value. So there's a big generational issue. There's an issue where some Gen Z don't know what real work is. So why are they letting Gen Z employers are let go? So why are they letting Gen Z employers go? And I always was asking my other coworkers or my business partner, why are they letting Gen Z go? If you don't know, I used to own my own business and I used to hire people. And one of the people I had issues with was actually Gen Z. And here's are some of the major reasons why. So why are Gen Z employees are let go? Well, there's several reasons why. And it's due to lack of motivation, poor communication skills, and unprofessional behavior top of the list. And they also include other things. So nearly half employers report that these young workers struggle with initiative, with 46% flag issue with professionalism. And I can contest to that.
According to a recent report, 60% of employers are firing Gen Zs just months after hiring them. 50% of these employers say that Gen Zers lack motivation and initiative. And some of them also point out that Gen Zers are unprofessional, unorganized, and have poor communication skills. Some examples that they've listed is being late to meetings, wearing office inappropriate clothing, and using language that's not appropriate in the workspace.
Because I had issues with emails, with them playing video games at work, and all these other issues that you normally don't have to talk about. I had someone that actually showed up to work, pulled out a PS5, and sat there and played during work hours and thought it was okay because he got his work done. Now, he was working task by task because I didn't trust him, but when he didn't have a task, he pulled out a PlayStation 5, an Xbox at that time, and a screen and just started playing at his desk. Now, I don't know if that doesn't scream unprofessionalism, but he did this at his station. Now, more than 1/5 or 21% report that recent college grads often can't manage workload. And 20% says they often are late to work. And I see this happen all the time. I couldn't get a Gen Z to show up on time. None of my Gen Z employee could show up to work on time. I couldn't even get them to show up at noon if I had to. So I had to make sure they just come into work and do their 8 hours. And that was my way to compensate them. But at the end of the day, I had to start letting them go because they just weren't showing up to work whenever they're expected to. And it was like pulling teeth out of it, and it wasn't worth it. Now, the poor communication skills, 39% of Gen Z have this issue, and it's from text messages, emails, from just regular communication. If they don't want to talk to you, or if they have issues, they just don't talk and act like nothing happened. At the end of the day, that's not how you work professionally. Even if you did something bad, you still need to communicate. And the biggest part I had was 38% of them had a difficult time receiving feedback, good or bad. And they would flip out on me whenever I talked to them. Whenever I did my performance review, I would tell them the good and bad. Every single time I gave them bad news, it looks like they want to start crying, or they want to argue with me, or they want to start a fight. Now I'm sitting here telling them, look, you didn't meet expectation because you haven't shown up to work on time anytime last year. Pretty good reason why you don't get a 5% raise. Well, the argument was I was playing games, most of those, not a new game came out, or I thought it was flexible. It's all these excuses. At the end of the day, I had issues with it. With the problem-solving ability, about 34% of them have piss poor problem-solving skills. If you don't tell them exactly what to do, they just don't do it, and they just like, I don't know what to do, and they'll just sit there. Now, here's some concerning stats about this. For many employers, these issues were serious enough to warrant formal intervention, with 79% stating that they had underperforming Gen Z when they hired them. So 79% of these employers are saying they had underperforming Gen Z, and I can see that. I had issues with Gen Z, always want time off, pretty much want everything given to them, but they didn't want to come to work. Despite the effort, 6% of these hired eventually lose their jobs. So you have this huge number of Gen Zs still today losing their job because not showing up work, not talking or communication skills, not being professional, not showing up on time. These are all basic skills, and problem-solving skills is another big issue. Now, here's some challenges managing Gen Z employers that aren't new, but they're becoming more urgent as the number grow. And we found that 74% of managers with business leaders consider Gen Z more difficult to work with than other generation. And the feedback point recurring theme is entitlement, lack of effort, and low productivity. And I see this in a lot of Gen Z. I'm not saying Gen Z is lazy, but something happened where they think they're too good to be at work. And I had this issue. I have plans. I have goals. I have these big dreams. And maybe because it's the internet saying that they can make millions doing something else, but at the reality of it, they're not going anywhere, and they're just lazy at the time they get to work. They might not be lazy at home. Now, we're seeing where there's a trend of Gen Z work come in with very high expectation, but little understanding of the workplace reality. So I had this major issue where they think they come to work, they get all these extra benefits because of what they see at Twitter, what they see on. And the main reason why I see this issue is because for a long time, big corporation gave these benefits that didn't help out with other companies. It just spoiled the employees, and year over year they got to see this, and they demanded more and more. Now you start seeing companies push back because the affordability to do these things is not that great. So Facebook pushed back on it, Twitter pushed back on it, or well, X and Meta pushed back on it. So that's where we're at today. Let's talk about the new grads. Did you know that 1 out of 6 new hires are ignoring new grads? And it's not because they're not qualified, it's because they're Gen Z and they have this unbiased feeling towards Gen Z. And yes, I see people at my workplace do this, and other workplaces and other companies do this because they have issues with Gen Z in the past, and they continually have it, and they're letting more go. So why hire them? You could be the best Gen Z worker out there right now, but all your other generational colleagues, co-workers, friends, and family are ruining it for you in the marketplace for employees. So if you're wondering why you're having a hard time finding a job as a new grad, it's because the first few Gen Zs that came out gave a very bad impression on the market. And the Gen Z impact on the workforce. Now, despite all these challenges, Gen Z pose a very significant role right now, especially with they're supposed to surpass the baby boomers, the largest generational demographic of workforce. So we need them to come to work and actually work properly. So we actually need Gen Z work. It's not like we don't need them. And the issue with it, by 2025, Gen Z will account for more than a quarter of the global workforce according to the World Economic Forum. So we will need them. And the issue is they're not lasting. They keep getting fired. And it's not like the workplaces aren't trying. These are just the biggest concern that we have for them. Now, here's the reason why we want Gen Z in the workforce. Because they're very tech savvy. What sets apart Gen Z is they're familiar with technology. This generation grew up with smartphones, social media, and AI, so they're very helpful in the workplace to push productivity forward. But the issue is when they grew up on this technology, it also made them lazy in other places. So it is there. We need them. We need them for this reason, but it causes more issues because they end up being lazy because everything was. It might be because of a few reasons why Gen Z act this way. And one of the reasons is the financial safety net or trap that the parents are doing. Yes, it's difficult. It may seem about 70% of parents are still financially supporting their adult children, often at a great personal cost. So there's a reason why they keep running back to the parents if something doesn't go their way. At the end of the day, the parents need to take accountability and just cut them off, and they will learn to act better. Now, here's the thing about parents are sacrificing and delaying their retirement just so that their kids could have it easier. Now, I understand you want your kids to have it easier, but at the end of the day, when they become adult, you need to stop supporting them so they understand what it's like to be an adult, pay bills, be independent, and understand that it's not going to be easy and there might be some struggle. Now, one of the issues is with feedbacks. The most cited issue in Gen Z employee is they don't take constructive criticism. And I had this issue, and there's almost nothing I can do until they build a thicker skin, because it could be the politest thing, but at the end of the day, there's a reason why they are called snowflakes, and that is the major reasons why we're having an issue.